Today, we're diving into a topic many men misread, misunderstand, or completely overlook: the subtle signs a woman shows when she's genuinely attracted to you. And trust me, after years of sitting across from people in therapy sessions, listening to their fears, their confessions, their regrets, and their breakthroughs, I can tell you this: attraction is rarely loud. It rarely announces itself. Most of the time, it slips through the cracks in ways men never think to notice. Welcome back to the channel. I'm glad you're here, because what we're talking about today is something that has caused more confusion, heartbreak, hesitation, and missed opportunities than almost anything I've witnessed in my office. I've watched men sit across from me, replaying moments they didn't understand, and I've listened to women speak about the signs they thought were obvious, but the men in their lives never caught on. And no, I won't mention names because confidentiality matters, but the patterns are universal. Here's the controversial part: women almost never reveal their attraction directly, yet they desperately hope you'll notice it. That's the truth most people don't want to admit. In a world where everyone claims to be clear, honest, or direct, attraction still hides itself behind silence, small gestures, awkward moments, and emotional cues that only make sense when someone points them out. And that's what we're doing today. I'm going to walk you through the signs, the ones I've seen play out in real relationships, the ones clients have cried over, laughed about, or finally recognized after years of misunderstanding themselves. These signs are subtle but powerful. They're human, not scripted. They're emotional, not manipulative, and they're often right in front of you. By the end of this video, you won't just know the signs, you'll understand them. You'll see the difference between politeness and genuine interest, between friendliness and emotional pull. So let's get into it, because the truth is this: when a woman is attracted to you, her behavior changes, even if she thinks she's hiding it. 1. She can't hide her nervous excitement around you. When a woman is genuinely attracted to you, the first thing that often shifts, long before she's even aware of it, is her emotional energy. And I've seen this play out countless times in my therapy office. A woman will be describing a man she's drawn to, and without realizing it, her whole presence changes. Her voice softens or lifts, her breathing shifts, her thoughts get a little tangled, and she smiles at moments she doesn't even notice. Attraction has a way of overriding logic, and that's exactly what creates this unmistakable mix of nervousness and excitement. What's fascinating is that many men misinterpret this. They assume she's uncomfortable, disinterested, or unsure, but in many cases, she's simply overwhelmed by how much she feels and how quickly she's feeling it. I've had women sit across from me, admitting they acted awkward or clumsy around a man they truly wanted, then later worried they ruined their chance. It's a deeply human response. When someone matters to you, even in the smallest way, your nerves start whispering louder than your words. You might notice she laughs a little too quickly, or she fidgets with her hair or jewelry. She may try to seem composed, but her actions betray the internal buzz she's trying her best to manage. A woman who doesn't care? She's calm, steady, unshaken. A woman who's drawn to you? Her emotions race ahead of her reasoning. Sometimes she talks more than usual. Sometimes she gets quiet. Attraction doesn't show up in a single uniform way, but the underlying emotion is the same. She feels a spark that disrupts her normal patterns. That disruption is the key. I've listened to men describe moments when a woman looked away the second they made eye contact, unsure if it meant she wasn't interested. More often than not, that quick glance away wasn't a rejection. It was a protective reflex. Attracted women often fear that their expression will reveal too much. That moment of looking away is sometimes her regrouping, trying to steady herself so she doesn't give away the depth of her feelings too soon. There's something deeply vulnerable about attraction. It forces people to confront desires they can't fully articulate, and it exposes parts of themselves they usually keep guarded. That's why these nervous cues matter. They come from a place that can't be manufactured or faked. She might try to appear controlled, but attraction is rarely clean or tidy. It's messy. It slips through the cracks of her confidence. It shows up in small mistakes, dropping something, stumbling over a word, smiling at the wrong moment, because her mind is juggling more emotions than she expected. If you pay attention, you'll notice that her nervous excitement isn't discomfort. It's emotional investment. She wants to be perceived the right way. She wants to leave a good impression. And underneath it all, She feels something she's trying to make sense of. That mix of nerves and excitement is one of the purest signs she's drawn to you, even if she's trying to hide every bit of it. 2. Her attention locks onto you differently. One of the clearest signs a woman is attracted to you is the way her attention shifts when you're in the room. And I want you to think about this carefully, because in my sessions with clients, both men and women, this pattern shows up more consistently than almost anything else. Attraction changes the way a person observes. It changes what they notice, what they remember, and what they prioritize. When a woman is drawn to you, her focus naturally gravitates toward you, even if she tries to appear subtle. Here's the part most men don't realize. Women are incredibly perceptive when they're interested in someone. They watch details with an emotional curiosity that isn't present when they're indifferent. I've had countless women sit across from me and describe how they picked up on a man's mood, or a shift in his tone, or even a habit he never noticed about himself, simply because attraction sharpened their awareness. Meanwhile, the men often had no idea she was paying that much attention. When a woman is attracted to you, she studies you without meaning to, not in a dramatic or intense way, just naturally, because she cares. She listens more closely when you speak. She responds faster when you message her. She remembers things you mentioned casually, like an upcoming meeting, or your favorite food, or something you said in passing that even you forgot. Her mind stores these details because, whether she admits it or not, you matter to her. There's a warmth in her attention too, a soft focus that isn't performative. She might follow your reactions in a group conversation, checking to see whether you found something funny or interesting. She may look at you when something happens, almost as if she wants to share the moment with you. These are not behaviors of politeness. They are emotional cues. Men often confuse availability with attraction, but attention is the real indicator. A woman can be friendly without being drawn to you. She can be kind without being interested, but she cannot selectively focus on you, especially in subtle, meaningful ways, unless something deeper is happening inside her. There's also the way she shifts when she senses your attention. Women who are attracted often become more aware of how present you are. She notices when you're quiet, she notices when you're distracted, she notices when you pull back. And that awareness isn't controlling, it's emotional. It comes from a place of wanting to feel connected to you. I've watched women in therapy describe this, sometimes feeling embarrassed by how much they noticed. But it's not something they control, it's human. So if you ever feel like a woman's attention stays on you a little longer, lingers when it doesn't have to, or returns to you repeatedly in a room full of people, pay attention to that. Attraction isn't just in words or gestures, it's in focus. When her attention locks onto you differently, it's because her feelings already have. 3. She finds reasons to be near you. One of the most engaging and honestly one of the most telling signs of attraction is when a woman keeps finding reasons to place herself in your space. And I don't mean grand, dramatic gestures. I mean the small, almost invisible ways she gravitates toward you without saying a word. Over the years, in countless sessions, I've listened to women describe how they maneuvered their way closer to someone they liked. Often, they'd laugh at themselves for how subtle their attempts were and how the man never noticed. Here's what you need to understand as a man. Proximity is rarely an accident when emotions are involved. When a woman is drawn to you, she seeks comfort and connection through nearness. She might walk in your direction even when she had no real reason to. She may just happen to stand next to you during a group conversation. She might sit closer than necessary, lean in a little more, or adjust her position so she's facing you. These are tiny choices, but they come from a very real emotional pull. And there's something incredibly human about that. I've heard women say things like, "I didn't want to make it obvious, but I just felt better standing closer to him." That's the part men tend to miss. This isn't strategy or games, it's instinct. When someone feels drawn to you, even being a few feet closer feels safer, warmer, more meaningful. Sometimes she creates excuses, asking a question she already knows the answer to, walking over to check something that didn't need checking, initiating small talk even when it's unnecessary. Not because she wants to waste your time, but because she wants to feel your presence. And she hopes you'll notice the effort without her having to spell it out. Other times, she uses shared activities as a bridge. She might suggest going somewhere together, offer help with something small, or join an event because she knows you'll be there. I've heard women confess that they changed their plans or adjusted their schedules just to stay close to someone they liked. Again, never in an obsessive or dramatic way, but in a soft, very human way. Men often underestimate how subtle attraction can be. A woman doesn't need to touch you or flirt overtly to send a message. Sometimes her body moves before her words do. Sometimes she places herself close to you because her emotions are tugging her in your direction. And here's what I want you to really pay attention to. A woman who has no interest in you won't do this. She may be polite, she may be friendly, but she won't make an effort to be near you. Proximity is an emotional investment. So when you notice her drifting toward you over and over, choosing to sit near you, talk to you, walk beside you, or simply exist in your space, that isn't random. It's a quiet, powerful sign that something inside her is already leaning your way. 4. Her body language opens up. Without her noticing, body language is one of the most honest forms of communication, especially when emotions are involved, and I've seen this truth unfold repeatedly in couples who come to therapy. One example that always stays with me, without mentioning names of course, involved a couple who had been together for several years. The woman talked about the early days of their connection, and she admitted something her partner never realized. She said her body gave her away long before her words did. That's what happens when a woman is attracted to you. Her body responds before her mind catches up. In the relationship I referenced, the woman described how she found herself angling her body toward him even when she tried to appear neutral. She remembered sitting with friends pretending to be focused on the group conversation, yet her posture always drifted toward him. It wasn't intentional. Her attraction simply shaped her body language naturally, and that's exactly how it works for most women, even if they don't talk about it openly. When a woman is drawn to a man, there's a softness in the way she faces him. Her shoulders relax, her arms uncross. She leans in when he speaks, even if it's subtle. If she's standing, her feet point toward him. If she's sitting, her torso aligns with his direction. These small signals seem insignificant, but they reveal what words often hide. She feels comfortable with him. She feels safe. She feels connected. Body language isn't loud. It's not dramatic. It's quiet but revealing, almost like her emotions are slipping through the cracks of her composure. I've had women admit they noticed their own body language changing and became embarrassed because they worried it was obvious. They talked about catching themselves brushing lint off a man's shirt, fixing his collar, or touching his arm when they laughed. Not because they planned to, but because attraction made them more physically expressive. Touch is one of the clearest signs, but it doesn't always have to be direct. Sometimes it's the way she moves closer while talking, or how she doesn't step away when you move near her. It might be how she mirrors your movements without realizing it, matching your gestures or expressions because her body feels in sync with yours. I've seen this in relationships countless times. The man almost always says, "I didn't think she liked me at first." But when the woman explains what she was doing, leaning in, smiling more, unconsciously mirroring his posture, suddenly everything makes sense to him in hindsight. Here's what you need to understand. A woman who isn't attracted keeps her body guarded. She keeps her space. She stays neutral or distant. But a woman who feels that emotional spark, she opens up physically, mentally, and emotionally, long before she finds the courage to say it out loud. Her body tells the story she's not ready to speak. 5. She remembers the smallest things. You say, one of the most meaningful signs of attraction, one that shows genuine emotional investment, is how a woman pays attention to the details of your life. And I want to bring up a story from a couple I worked with some time ago. Again, no names here, but their dynamic perfectly illustrates this point. The man was convinced at the beginning of their relationship that she wasn't very interested. He assumed she saw him the same way she saw everyone else. But when they eventually grew closer, she revealed something that surprised him. She had been remembering almost everything he said from the very start, not because she was trying to impress him, but because her feelings made his words matter to her. This is what happens when a woman is truly attracted to you. The small things you mention, your favorite drink, a tough day you had years ago, a joke you made in passing, stick with her. She stores them because she cares. Her mind holds onto your details the way someone holds onto something fragile and meaningful. In the couple I mentioned, the turning point for the man was the day he casually mentioned a childhood memory involving a type of candy he used to love. To him, it was small talk, just a tiny piece of his past. But a few days later, she brought him that exact candy, wrapped neatly with a quiet smile. He told me he felt something shift in him that day because he realized she had been paying attention all along. Men often underestimate this sign. They look for loud expressions or bold gestures, but what reveals a woman's attraction most clearly is how deeply she listens. When she likes you, your words don't just pass through her, they land somewhere. She remembers things you told her once because they meant something to her emotionally. And it's not just about gifts or actions. Sometimes she brings up something you said weeks earlier, something you don't even remember saying yourself. Maybe you mentioned an appointment, a hobby you've been wanting to try, or a small frustration at work. When she checks in later, how did that appointment go? Or did you ever try that new thing you were talking about? That's not friendliness. That's emotional presence. Women in relationships often tell me that this memory isn't something they do consciously. They're not keeping notes. They're not tracking things as a strategy. They remember because their heart pays attention before their mind even realizes it. And make no mistake, a woman who isn't drawn to you won't remember these things. She'll forget the details. She'll lose track of what you said. She might care enough to be polite, but she won't hold on to the pieces of your life the way an attracted woman does. So when a woman remembers the little things, it's not random, it's not coincidence, it's connection. It's her way of saying, without saying it, you matter to me. 6. She gets protective of your connection. One of the most overlooked but powerful signs of attraction is the subtle way a woman becomes protective of the connection she feels with you. And I don't mean possessive, controlling, or dramatic. That's not healthy, and it's not what we're talking about. What I'm referring to is the emotional protectiveness that comes from valuing someone deeply. I've seen this time and time again in therapy sessions, especially with women who were afraid to admit how much someone meant to them. When a woman is attracted to you, she becomes more aware of anything that might threaten the bond she feels forming. She might not speak on it directly, but her reactions say everything. She notices when someone else seems interested in you. Her expression changes slightly. Her energy shifts, not because she feels entitled to you, but because the thought of losing the connection stirs something real inside her. I've had women describe moments where they quietly stepped back and reassessed their feelings because they found themselves caring more than they expected. They talk about how hearing a man mention another woman made them feel a sudden drop in their stomach, an emotional reaction they didn't anticipate, and many of them felt embarrassed to admit it because they weren't official with the man yet. But that's what attraction does. It awakens a sense of emotional investment long before a relationship becomes defined. This protectiveness shows up in other ways too. She might encourage you to set boundaries with people who drain you. She might advise you about situations that she thinks could hurt you. She may check on you more frequently when she senses you're going through something. She's tuned in, not out. She cares about how you're treated, how you feel, and what affects you. There's also a quiet form of protectiveness that men rarely recognize. A woman who's attracted to you will sometimes become more aware of her own behavior because she wants to maintain the connection. She chooses her words more thoughtfully. She avoids actions that might push you away. Not because she's trying to perform, but because she values how you see her. She doesn't want to jeopardize something that feels meaningful. Another way this shows up is through subtle jealousy, not loud, confrontational jealousy, but the kind that's written in small reactions. A shift in tone, a longer pause, a softer mood. I've seen women wrestle with this in sessions, trying to balance their desire to appear composed with the reality that their emotions were far more involved than they previously admitted. And here's the important part. A woman who feels nothing doesn't react this way. She doesn't feel that slight tension when someone else enters the picture. She doesn't worry about losing you. She doesn't think twice about what could happen next. But a woman who's attracted, she pays attention. She protects the connection in quiet, intentional ways because it matters to her. She's not claiming ownership of you. She's acknowledging the emotional impact you've already made. That protectiveness is one of the clearest signs her feelings run deeper than she lets on. 7. Her emotions shift. When you pull back, even slightly. One of the most revealing signs a woman is attracted to you is how her emotions change when she senses you pulling back, even in the smallest ways. And this isn't about games or manipulation, it's about the natural human response that shows up when someone cares more than they're ready to admit. Over the years, I've seen this pattern unfold again and again in therapy sessions with clients who were trying to understand why they felt so unsettled by even the slightest distance from someone they liked. When a woman is attracted to you, she becomes more attuned to the rhythm of your presence. She notices when your responses slow down, when your energy drops, when you seem distracted, when you're less available than usual. It might be something as small as a shorter message, a delayed reply, or you appearing a little more distant during a conversation. To you, it may feel insignificant, but to her, it stirs something deeper. I've had women confess that they felt a surprising wave of discomfort when the man they cared for suddenly became quiet for a day or two. Not panic, not insecurity, just a shift, a tension, a concern, because in their mind, the connection wasn't just casual anymore. They were emotionally invested, and investment changes everything. Sometimes she'll try to reconnect subtly. She might reach out a little more, initiate a conversation, or check in on you in a way she normally wouldn't. Other times, she becomes unusually reflective, trying to figure out whether she did something wrong or whether you're simply dealing with something personal. Attraction makes her sensitive, not fragile, just aware. You'll also notice emotional shifts she doesn't intend to show. Her tone may soften because she's trying to pull things back to how they felt before. Or she becomes slightly more guarded, unsure of where things stand. And in some cases, she becomes warmer than usual, almost as if she's quietly trying to remind you of the bond between you without naming it. This emotional shift is rarely dramatic. It's not loud, angry, or confrontational. It's quiet but honest. There's a weight in the way she talks, or a pause before she responds. There's a need to understand what changed, even if she doesn't voice it. I've seen many women describe this conflict internally, wanting to give him space but feeling a pang of worry that the distance means something more. And here's the important part. A woman who isn't attracted won't feel this shift. Your silence won't register deeply, your distance won't carry emotional weight. She may notice, but she won't internalize it. But when a woman does feel something for you, even your smallest changes echo inside her. It's not because she's clingy, it's because the connection matters. She senses when the emotional balance shifts, and she responds to it with an instinctive desire to understand, reconnect, or steady what she feels growing between you. That emotional reaction, quiet, real, and often unspoken, is one of the strongest signs a woman's heart is more involved than you think. Attraction is rarely expressed in bold, obvious ways. Most of the time, it reveals itself through quiet shifts, changes in energy, attention, emotion, and behavior that speak louder than words ever could. After years of listening to people open up about their deepest fears and desires, I've learned that these subtle signs are often the truest indicators of how someone feels. If you recognize these patterns in a woman's actions toward you, don't ignore them. They're signals of genuine interest, vulnerability, and emotional investment. Understanding them doesn't just help you connect better, it helps you appreciate the moments where real human connection begins.